Regarding the patch, he mentions something important to Sakura. When in front of his Kishida, he shouldn't talk about taking the top spot, since the long-haired guy in front of him has been here since middle school, and due to the passion and talent he showed, he was allowed to join the Windbreaker even before entering high school, but more importantly, he venerates and is very loyal to the one who sits on the Windbreaker throne, basically like a fanatic, and while he keeps saying this, they keep fighting, although at that moment, our protagonist slips, but being very flexible, he strikes a spider pose and avoids the blow that was coming to his face, delivering a tremendous kick to the guy's face. Upon standing up, he mocks him, saying that if he's just a fanatic, he can't think for himself and only does what he's told. At least he would never lose against someone like that. Hearing this, the dangerous guy launches to attack him again, but at that moment, a voice is heard through the speaker, and immediately his Kishida stops, and the one speaking through the speaker congratulates him for joining this high school. Although there, the person helping him record asks him to please not shout so much and speak more normally. However, the leader explains that it's an initial greeting. Hearing this, Sakura wonders if they didn't have a better moment to interrupt this blessed fight, so, while provoking the opponent, this doesn't work, as everyone remains silent. Even the opponent who hit him is calm, which makes him wonder whose voice that is. Just then, the guy on the speaker proceeds to introduce himself as Ajime Umemiya, the general of the Windbreakers, and upon hearing these words, Sakura gets more excited because clearly, that guy is the strongest. But that's not all he says. He continues talking and mentions to everyone to enjoy their youth, create beautiful memories, and eat shaved ice, something that the blonde guy mocks. So his Kishida is about to hit him. He is begging for his life, and at the first chance, he escapes and grabs onto our protagonist. And that's when the leader continues talking, as on the first day, he doubts anyone will take punches. Obviously, Sakura looks at the dangerous one, who quickly wipes away all the blood. The one with the eye patch mentions that even if he cleans the blood, everyone saw him fight, while the leader of the Windbreakers mentions that even if they're not soul friends, they should get along. Above all, they should protect the neighborhood, because since they were baptized as the Windbreaker, they have to live up to it. Their only rule is to protect all things, people, or principles, and that's how he trusts everyone. And when it's supposed to be over his speech or message, he keeps being heard mentioning that he was going to lunch, as the silly one forgot to turn off the microphone. But despite everything, he surprised our Sakura, because he notices that with just his voice, he unified all the boys in the classroom and even calmed down the most belligerent. Now he's more eager to meet this guy called Amila, but then the one with the eye patch mentions that it would be best for them to shake hands. Our guy doesn't want to do that, and the dangerous guy was the one who attacked him in the first place. At that moment, his blonde friend asks why he's blushing, so he receives a punch, and then the one with the eye patch mentions that if he aspires to reach the top, making amends shouldn't mean anything. As for his Kishida, he asks what would happen if the leader found out that he attacked a new classmate, so the dangerous guy quickly shakes hands with our Sakura to make amends because he clearly doesn't want the leader to see him as a bad guy. And although our Sakura also considers it, he eventually shakes hands, although the handshake feels very strange to him. And both press hard to shake the opponent's hand. Then the one with the eye patch tells them to separate, and as they do, they both realize that their rival has the strength of a gorilla. Additionally, the other classmates take notice of our Sakura, praising him for being someone so incredible to have been able to hit his Kishida. Hearing those words, our two-colored hair boy reflects that in this city, these kinds of things keep happening to him, which he really likes because unlike in his previous school, where he was discriminated against, and to the one who was worried that they had hung him, he gives a punch, emphasizing that he won't fall so easily, at least not willingly so. He spends his time having fun with his new classmates, realizing that humans are warmer than they seem. But then, a student from a higher grade tells everyone to leave, although our guy doesn't want to because they had just arrived. The guy angrily tells him to shut up and that it's better to talk less and go to the courtyard because if they arrive late, they'll also be scolded. This guy had a way of speaking, and that's how they finally end up in the courtyard. Although what's curious is that there are no teachers around there. Iguri tells them that they took too long to leave, even mentioning the exact time they took, which was 7 minutes, 48 seconds, and 26 tenths. This seems overly meticulous to Sakura, but upon closer inspection, he recognizes him as the guy from yesterday. So, his blonde friend asks where he met him, and as we know, was when our protagonist helped Kotoa, the girl from the cafeteria, and when the guy hears Kotoa's name, he quickly grabs our protagonist away to another place, as he had previously told him not to mention that name, and since he's so close while talking, he's spitting on him. Obviously, Sakura reproaches and complains about this, although their Iguri mentions that if a certain guy finds out that Kotoa was in danger, he can't imagine what could happen. So, with a toothache, he tells our prota that Kotoa wasn't there and that it's better not to tell anyone about yesterday, otherwise, he'll end up vomiting blood. Well, he starts taking some tablets for his health, mentioning at the same time that, even though he doesn't know why he came from the outside, being here, he's at the orders of a tremendous general. That's how they both return to their seats, and although Nairai asks what happened, he only responds that he took some stomach medicine, while revealing to our protagonist that Iguri is one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Windbreaker. In reality, there are 4, and they are only below the general. Each one is like a kind of captain who leads a class for each school year, meaning one heavenly king leads those in the north, others in the east, others in the south, and finally, one in the west. Each zone houses the 3 years of high school, and they are now in the north in the squadron called Taman. Then, Iguri asks everyone to form groups of 4 or 5, with at least 1 third or second year student in each, so that everyone else learns what to do. After the group meeting, they start patrolling the neighborhood, and indeed, our Sakura ends up with the dangerous guy, by orders of Yumila, who asked Iguri to watch over them. While they're walking, Red calmly asks both if they've already fought, to which our protagonist responds, complaining that the other attacked him, so he kicked him. Then, his Kishida looks at him again, and our Sakura returns the gaze, so Iguri has no choice but to separate them. Seeming like a kindergarten teacher, they continue patrolling, but our rebels seem to only be walking, so he suggests it's better to look for the bad guys and give them a good beating. Iguri corrects him, as that wouldn't be defending anymore but attacking. Besides, just walking around the area is inherently valuable while strolling in uniform. Small groups of vandals don't do anything, thus fulfilling their main objective, which is to protect the neighborhood, but our Sakura finds it boring, so Iguri corrects him, saying that if he only enjoys fighting, he's the boring one. Then, the guy sees a lady doing something dangerous, so he immediately helps her, and then they clean up what the vandals painted, leaving our Sakura furious because he thought being a hero here meant beating up everyone. When they're done, the old man they helped thanks them by giving them snacks, and they pass the time walking through the city again, this time with their snacks. Then Iguri comments to our prota that they used to be like that before, that is, a vandalism, but he reveals that exchanging a few words and feeling useful to the community has its charm to make him feel good. So gradually, our Sakura begins to understand the situation, reaching the border of the neighborhood where he notices graffiti of a dog and comments to everyone how ugly the dog is. His friend quickly explains that this is the border between Windbreaker territory and another gang. He asks him not to cause trouble there because they have different rules, and there's carry no weight in that place. The vandals from the other place call themselves Shitorai, and the drawing itself is a lion's head, known for their cult of strength. This last part appeals to our Sakura, but then they see a third-year junior high school boy from Fearing who is running away from the opposing gang. Iguri hesitates whether to help him, but our protagonist notices that the boy won't be able to cross the bridge, so both he and the dangerous guy give a severe kick to the member of the other gang. This is because, after all, this running boy is one of theirs, so, for both our Sakura and his Kishida, it's the ones from the opposing gang who started the fight. But then our protagonist realizes that the dangerous guy was next to him, so he tells him to go, and he'll take care of it alone. But he ignores him. On the other side, we see the knocked out boy's comrades mocking him, but then a sub-captain from that gang arrives, named Togame. He asks the Fearing preparatory students what they are doing there, and obviously, Iguri steps forward, explaining that their gang was chasing one of their own, so Togame quickly understands the situation and asks if those two were the ones who did this, pointing to his comrade who is now knocked out, but then he gets up and complains that the Fury students shouldn't be in their territory. Seeing this, Togame gives him a lesson, not for what you might think, but because he's just a weakling who got defeated. Although Iguri shouts for him to stop, the guy with all the brain scars explains that he's too weak, and there's no place for weaklings in Chitorai. He takes off his jacket, showing his sadistic nature. Even our friend with the eye patch had heard rumors about him being very unpleasant to see. However, our protagonist asks the guy if they're supposed to be the cult of strength. Why is he beating up someone weaker just because they're strong? Face to face, he tells him that he's a real disappointment. It's then that Togame finally notices Sakura's strange hair, which at least seems like a piece from Othello, a very popular game piece. It seems like you're describing a scene from a story set in a Japanese cultural context. The situation escalates as Togame, a member of the opposing gang, threatens Sakura, indicating he'll find a suitable place to beat him up later. However, they eventually leave, and Sakura comments to his friend, Otero, about the situation. Though Otero's reaction seems delayed, Nairai expresses concern about an impending war, but the eye patch-wearing friend reassures him, believing it's for the best. Iguri, meanwhile, takes numerous pills, causing Nairai to caution him about following the dosage instructions. Iguri apologizes for not acting sooner and takes the knocked-out boy to report to Emila, the leader of the Windbreaker gang. Climbing the stairs, Iguri appears terrified, contrasting with Sakura's impression of him as friendly based on his voice. Finally reaching their destination, they find Emila tending to plants, giving off a friendly vibe despite his intimidating physique.